You are staring at a blank Google Doc at 2 a.m. Fingers frozen over the keyboard, waiting for a lightning bolt of originality that is never going to strike. We've been fed a massive lie in America that great ideas are only born in a vacuum of raw talent, or through some mysterious, unearned artistic grace. But the truth is, the most disruptive innovations coming out of Silicon Valley aren't actually new. They are just brilliantly stolen parts stitched together in the dark to solve a problem. Stop trying to be a creator and start being a scavenger. Here is the proof. Realize that the people we call geniuses are actually just world-class looters. Take Lin-Manuel Miranda and the 2015 debut of Hamilton. He didn't sit in a white room waiting for a spirit to move him. He was on vacation reading a 700-page biography of Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. Most people see a dead founding father and think about a boring history lecture. Miranda saw a dead founding father and heard a 1990s hip-hop beat. He took an 18th-century biography and dragged it onto a Broadway stage, forcing it to rap. That isn't magic. It's a collision of a history book and a drum machine. The show changed everything because it was a heist of two worlds that supposedly didn't belong together. Now, shift over to the Wu-Tang Clan in the early 90s. They weren't trying to be original rappers in the way we think about it. They were scavenging the bargain bins of 70s kung fu cinema. Specifically the Shaw Brothers VHS tapes. They sampled those movies and used the crackling audio to define a whole generation of Staten Island hip-hop. They dragged those sword clinks and Shaolin philosophies into the NYC street culture. They stole the aesthetics of a Hong Kong film studio and smashed them into the projects of New York. That's not a gift. It's a brutal, effective way of pulling apart the trash of one culture to build the crown of another. But maybe you think this only works for the stage or the recording studio. Let's get away from the lights and look at the gritty survival of a tech startup in 2008. San Francisco was in the middle of a massive financial collapse. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were broke and couldn't pay their rent in their apartment on Rausch Street. They didn't have a visionary breakthrough. They looked at the bloated, expensive hotel industry and a literal air mattress in their living room. Airbnb started because they combined a guest room with the marketing tactics of a 1950s breakfast cereal company. They actually sold Obama O's and Cap'n McCain's cereal boxes at $40 a pop to fund their company. They took the desperate reality of a recession and reconstructed it using the leftovers of hospitality and collectibles. Airbnb wasn't a spark of genius. It was a desperate assembly of parts during the total market meltdown. None of these people started from a blank slate. They looked at what was already lying around in the dirt and realized those pieces were worth billions. You don't need a new idea, any more than Brian Chesky needed a new building. You just need to realize that the person who built the hotel and the person who made the cereal box already gave you everything you need. This is the scavenger's pedigree. Most of us look at a finished product like an unbreakable monolith. You see a car and you just think, car. But if you want to loot ideas like a pro, you have to smash that monolith into dust. Look at how Tesla makes batteries. They don't care about the market price of pre-made battery packs. They look straight at the price of carbon, nickel, and aluminum on the London Metal Exchange. They rip the pack apart until there's nothing left to rip. That's the only way to know what the thing is actually made of. The same is true for the massive artificial intelligences of 2024. They don't understand poetry or source code. They break human speech down into tiny mathematical scraps. They treat a Shakespeare sonnet like a pile of plastic toy bricks. If you don't know how those bricks are made, you stay a consumer. You aren't a builder. You have to be willing to ruin someone else's work to understand it. Take a successful YouTube thumbnail. Don't look at the picture. Look at the contrast levels, the eye direction of the character, and the thickness of the font. Strip away the fluff until you see the raw bone. This matters because the industry standard is usually just a fancy name for how everyone else is failing. Now you have your bricks. But if you only look in your own backyard, you'll just build the same house as your neighbor. The master scavengers go through the trash piles of industries that have nothing to do with them. Look at the engineers of the Shinkansen bullet train in Japan. In the 90s, their trains were too loud whenever they exited tunnels. They didn't look at other trains to fix it. They looked at a kingfisher bird. They realized the shape of the bird's beak allowed it to dive into water without a splash or a bang. They stole that beak shape and slapped it onto the front of a multi-million-dollar train. Problem solved. Or think about George de Mestral in the 1940s. He went for a hike and came back with burrs stuck all over his dog's fur. He didn't just brush them off. He put them under a microscope. He saw tiny hooks. He took a nuisance from a mountain trail and reconstructed it into Velcro. He raided biology to fix textile engineering. You have to push yourself to the edge of where you are allowed to look. If you're a chef, go watch a carpenter join wood. If you're a coder, watch a gardener tend soil. The best solutions aren't hidden, they are just sitting in the wrong room. This is the final act. The moment you create a new living thing. You take these weird, mismatched parts and you stitch them together until they start breathing. Think about Netflix in 1997. Reed Hastings didn't invent the DVD. He didn't invent the US Postal Service. He just took the physical disc and combined it with the way your local gym charges you every month. They stole the all-you-can-eat style of fitness clubs and applied it to movies. The core element wasn't technology. It was the marriage of mail delivery and a monthly pay-to-play habit. They didn't build a tech company. They built a delivery company with the brain of a gym. Most people fail here because they try to make the parts fit perfectly. Don't. The awkward overlap between a DVD and a gym membership is exactly where the money is. You are looking for that clumsy intersection where two things that should hate each other actually work. You are building a monster that works better than a human. Look at a dirty food truck on a corner in Los Angeles. In 2008, Choi wasn't trying to invent a new chemical flavor in a test tube. He was broke and desperate. He looked at a Mexican taco, the $1 staple of the LA street scene. Then he looked at Korean barbecue, the fermented, spicy flavors of his own kitchen. Most people in Southern California saw two separate neighborhoods that never crossed paths. Choi saw a raid waiting to happen. He stuffed sesame toasted galbi and fermented kimchi inside a corn tortilla with a handful of cilantro. He didn't need a 5-star culinary degree to create something unique. He just needed to be a picker of the pavement. He took the leftovers of two different worlds, combined them in a mobile kitchen, and made a fortune. The Kogi barbecue truck didn't succeed because of talent. It worked because it was a collision of things that were already proven. Now, walk over to the meatpacking district in NYC. For decades, there was an old freight rail line, 1.45 miles of rusted iron and dead weeds hanging 30 feet above the sidewalk. By 1999, the city was ready to demolish it. It was a waste of space and an eyesore. But a few locals didn't see a ruin. They took the concept of a quiet public park and shoved it into the heart of that industrial rot. The High Line isn't just a park or railroad anymore. It's a hybrid that shouldn't exist, but it draws nearly 8 million visitors every year. It's a theft of urban planning. They didn't build a new park from scratch. They just repurposed the skeleton of a dead industry. You can start this today. Look around your room right now. Grab two items that have no reason to be near each other. Maybe it's a vintage 1930s typewriter and a 2024 wireless router. Or a heavy cast iron skillet and a high-tech heart monitor. Don't wait for a vision to hit you like a bolt of lightning. Don't ask what you can invent from nothing. Ask how you can force these two strangers to work for you. The blank page is a trap. Originality is a marketing myth. The people we admire as innovators are just better at covering their tracks. They are better at hiding the serial numbers on the parts they stole. Stop trying to be a genius. Start being a collector of the discarded. Rip things apart. Stitch them back together. Make something that makes people wonder how you thought of that. Then, just smile and don't tell them where you found the pieces. Stop being a creator. Be a harvester. Success is for the looters.